Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, students. This is Salah Arab, your accounting instructor. In continuation of the topic, correction of errors not affecting the trial balance, today we are going to start the fifth lecture. Here we are going to discuss the fifth error which does not affect the trial balance. The error is error of original entry.
All right. So we move on to the next part now, which is error of original entry. Now, what is error of original entry? This error occurs when an incorrect figure is used when a transaction was first entered in accounting record. The double entry will therefore be using the incorrect figure. This means to say that when we talk about original entries, these errors can be identified as the sides were right. In error of original entry, the sides were right. What was supposed to be debited was written on debit side. What was supposed to be credited was written on credit side. There was no error of sides. There was no errors of classification. There was no error of accounts. But this time, the error was of amount, of figure. How? For example, the example is given: goods of $100 bought on credit but recorded as 1,000. How? Because when we purchase goods on credit, the original entry was purchases debit, and XYZ company, whosoever the liability is, XYZ company was credited, right? The original entry was supposed to be that purchase was supposed to be debited by 100 and XYZ company was supposed to be credited by 100. The expense was supposed to be increased by 100 and the liability on the other hand was supposed to be increased by $100. By error, what we did, beta, we wrote purchases on debit side, which was correct. We wrote XYZ company on credit side, which was correct. But by error, one more zero was added. In place of writing $100, we increased the purchases by 1,000 and we increased the liability by 1,000. Are you getting it? That means to say the purchase was supposed to be increased by 100 and the liability was supposed to be increased by 100. But we increased the purchases by 1,000 and the liability was increased by 1,000. So what will happen here? Beta, here we will have to write the difference figure. The difference of figure. How can we write the difference of figures? Beta, we will have to see whether by error the amount has increased. If it has increased, we will have to decrease it. If it has decreased, we will have to increase it. In this situation, beta, the amount has been increased. How? Beta, the original entry was supposed to be 100. We wrote 1,000. So that means to say that purchases was supposed to be increased by 100. We added 1,000 in it. So what is the difference of increasing? Beta, the difference of increasing is 900. Your purchases is increasing by 900 and your liability is also increasing by 900. This is the situation of increasing. Beta, when it increases, we will have to decrease it. How are we going to decrease this? It's very simple. Beta, when the purchase increases, it is recorded on debit side. We have to decrease with the difference. So the purchases will be credited, right? The purchases will be credited here. So we would write purchases credited and the liability was wrongly increased by 900. We will have to decrease the liability. Beta, when the liability decreases, it is recorded on debit side. So XYZ would be debited, purchases would be credited, and we will write the difference of amount 900. So this is how we make the entry, when we rectify the original entry. How do we rectify the original entry? First, we will have to see whether the error was increasing or decreasing. But it was increasing by 900, so we had to decrease. The second situation could be, for example, I paid rent by check. So rent was debited, bank was credited. Rent was debited, bank was credited. Now, the amount was supposed to be, originally, the amount was supposed to be 1000. The amount was supposed to be 1000, right? It means to say, originally, the entry was supposed to be, the rent was supposed to be increased by 1000. The bank was supposed to be decreased by 1000, right? But by error, what we did, the rent was debited, the bank was credited, sides were right, but the amount was wrong. In place of writing 1000, this time we wrote 100. Now, if you match from the first option, beta, in first option, the error was that we increased, by error we had increased the amount. This time, by error, we had decreased the amount. The amount was decreased by 900. First, the error was increased, but this time the error was decreased. Beta, simply, the rent was supposed to be written or increased by 900, we decreased by 1000. It was decreased by 1000, we made it 1000. So what are we going to do? It means to say that the rent was recorded in short amount. The figure was short here, so we have to increase it. The bank was shortly written by 100. We have to increase this by 900. So how are we going to increase it? Beta, the rent was shortly written, or it was decreased by 900. So we will have to increase again. How are we going to increase it? Beta, the rent will be written on debit side, the bank will be written on credit side, and this time the difference of 900 will be written. I know that it would be confusing for you, sir. Earlier you just reverse the entry. This time you are not reversing the entry, beta. We had to reverse this entry because the amount was decreased and we had to reduce it. But this time we decrease the amount by error. We will have to increase it. Beta, when we increase it, the rent will be on the debit side, because the rent, when increases, is written on the debit side. The bank should be decreased by 900. The amount is increasing here as well. The bank is decreasing, but I'm talking about the amount only. The amount was supposed to be 1000. We wrote the amount by 900. So we will have to increase the amount only. So the amount was increased by 900. The bank would be the account which was credited. If I give you one more example here of the same. We sold goods on credit to Mr. Ahmed. So Mr. Ahmed was supposed to be debited as its trade receivable. Sales would be credited. The amount was supposed to be 500. Ahmed 500 debited and sales 500 credited. But what happened basically? Ahmed was debited by 300, not traded, I would make it 600. Ahmed was debited by 600 and sales was credited by 600. What had happened here? Wait, beta, the amount was wrongly written. So this is an error of original entry. The amount was supposed to be 500, but by error, we increased the amount. By error, we increased the amount. The sales was supposed to be increased by 500. We increased by 600. But the amount was wrongly increased. So we will have to decrease it. When we decrease, so sales will be decreased and written on debit side. So sales would be written as sales debited, and Ahmad would be reduced by $100 here, because Ahmad is a trade receivable, beta we have to decrease it. In the same manner, if Ahmad was supposed to be 500 and sales was supposed to be 500, by error we wrote Ahmad as 300 and sales as 300. What has happened? Beta, the amount was supposed to be 500. By error, we decrease the amount. When we have decreased the amount, we will have to increase it again. So how we will increase? Ahmad will be increased again. Beta, Ahmad is a trade receivable. But Ahmad increases, it would be debited. Sales increases, it would be credited. The amount of difference, 500 minus 300 is 200. 200 will be written. Right? So this is how we figure out and rectify the error of original entry here. I hope it would be clear to you.